Up front today, in less than 72 hours, New Yorkers will be on their way to the polls. Broadcast New York's cameras take you for a ride on the roller coaster known as the 90 campaign. It's down to the final hours of Campaign 90, the race for governor. And while polls show Mario Cuomo as most likely to retain his job for another 4 years, he's facing a critical electorate. And he says his toughest opponent ever, his own record.
Whatever else we lead the nation in, the state of New York does not, by any fair measure, lead the nation in state-level taxes or spending.
A day on the campaign trail. First stop, a conference on fiscal reform at New York University. And Cuomo's talking numbers.
I said, tax reform sounds to me like a joke. We did not raise the sales tax. Forget about democratic politics. It destroys states like New York.
Steve Rosenbaum and Paul Gallagher from our town are following us.
What happens next?
Back to the Trade Center for a little while, then off to the PBA endorsement at 3 o'clock.
For all the candidates, it's a grueling ordeal of appearances, handshaking, and the endless whir of press cameras.
He's a national figure of considerable significance in politics. He's the, right now, early first choice, I think, of the Democratic Party to be the presidential contender in 1992. He's correctly recognized as perhaps the finest political speaker in the United States today. He's a formidable political force. He's listened to nationally. Fred Dicker, New York Post.
Political pundits and Cuomo watchers are keeping a close eye on the 1990 vote.
That's me.
New York Post columnist Fred Dicker says there's more at stake for Cuomo than a third term as governor. In fact, Dicker says he's got a lot to lose.
I think there's a good likelihood that he will win and lose, that he will not get the 60+% votes that he got in 1986, that the Republicans will keep control of the Senate, that the bond issue will go down, and Ned Reagan will be reelected. I think all of those, except his own victory, are close. But the polls I've been seeing and speaking to politicians on both sides of the aisle lead me to believe that right now, unless something dramatic occurs, the governor is not posed to score a sweeping victory by any means.
Yet, if not Cuomo, who? Some say this man, a candidate who has made headlines this election year by pointing fingers and taking aim at Cuomo's record.
How come California treats 2 Medicaid patients for the price of 1 in New York and treat 2 drug addict patients for the price of 1 in New York? California got 75% more people than we do. So my answer is there's a ton of money in that budget. We could hold that budget with no increases in spending for the next 4 years and pay for most of everything we want. However, limit some of the crazy increases we've been seeing. And very frankly, I'll put it to you bluntly, and I'm totally prejudiced, I think the state desperately needs an economist. Because, boy, the guy we got is the ultimate turkey. He couldn't pass Economics 1. I thank you very much.
And others now suggest that the most interesting race of the 1990 campaign will be the battle for second place. Among the several others running for governor, conservative candidate Herb London has attracted considerable attention, forcing New York Republicans to fight to retain major party status. Outside police headquarters, the audience is cops, and Cuomo is talking crime.
We have more than doubled the amount of resources we put into criminal justice. That's not easy to do. You know how discouraging it is to these people to make arrests and see a man's sheet that has 15, 16 arrests on it, and nothing ever happens? How do you ask him to go back when his family is at home wondering whether he'll ever make it home?
From the outside, what follows might look like an autograph session at a major league ball game. But instead, it's the governor shaking hands and fielding questions from reporters.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
You're a voter. Come here.
How you doing?
What do you do with the police department?
Please answer, excuse me, could you please answer the question?
I've answered it 50 times. Where have you been?
What, you're gonna support
The
this
answer
one?
is yes. I've
Including the
answered it over
residency
and-
requirement?
I just did it on Sunday.
Including the
I
residency
recommended the residency requirement long before the mayor did. I'm running against myself. That's even harder.
Cuomo's not running against Cuomo. Cuomo is running against Rinfret, not a second-rate, not a third-rate, but apparently a fourth-rate candidate.
They say to me, Mario, you said you want to take care of the children. Yes, I gave you $1.3 billion, but there's still sick children. And they're right. They say, Mario, you said you were for education. Yeah, I gave you 92% more money. It's the all-time record. Yeah, but we still need more. You're right. I can't win when I run against myself.
We're running against history. We're running against other campaigns. And in the public's mind, that makes it harder to judge.
Billy Cunningham has been running Cuomo's Victory 90 effort from Albany. He's managing a tricky non-campaign. He says running hard makes Cuomo look vulnerable, which he is not. But not campaigning will certainly lose votes.
We're running against the last election returns. We're running against a person that nobody knows, and so everybody thinks you're going to have this big election victory.
We are the only alternative to disaster. We are the alternative to a phony philosopher who wants more spending, more taxes, and drive more people out of this state.
If we don't work hard, if we don't run hard and try and get our voters out, then we're at fault if the numbers don't come true.
Back on the campaign trail, 5:45 p.m., Tavern on the Green in Central Park. The audience, a $500 a plate Environmental Bond Act fundraiser.
I'll pick up 3 other ways. Huh?
Have you lost a little weight?
No, I'm buying larger shirts. Does it work?
Because I know I saw you in an ad the other night.
Reagan used to do that. You buy a larger shirt, it always works. People start throwing money at you after a while. Who's here that has money we can get?
The audience is New York's power elite, and Cuomo talks deals.
Where's Brooke? Where's Tony? Put up your hand. Tony, let's make it quick. Let's do bottom line. Let's talk tacos. What do you want from the bond issue?
We want the Bond Act to pass.
And then
we
what?
want support
For what?
a great waterfront park.
You got it.
The
What
base
else?
of Brooklyn.
He's focusing on the Environmental Bond Act, on planting trees and talking about the environment and Social Security. What he's doing is evading the real issues, paying no attention to those issues whatsoever, and he's running off hiding about the issues. The issues are taxes, and the issues are crime, and the death penalty, and excessive state spending. He won't talk about it.
Most voters in New York, in our most recent polls, have identified that they feel that New York is not necessarily going in the right direction. But that doesn't mean that Cuomo, that problems are being laid at Cuomo's doorstep.
At the headquarters of the Marist poll in Poughkeepsie, Lee Miringoff keeps close tabs on the governor's approval ratings.
And I think even this year, when the economic bowling ball has rolled through the Northeast, Cuomo's the only pin standing. And many governors have either had electoral troubles in the re-election campaigns or in the Northeast have opted not to run. And then you have Mario Cuomo standing out there in very good shape as he seeks his 3rd term.
Campaign trail, 8 p.m., the helipad at West 30th. Rinfret stays in New York City, while Cuomo heads home, a 45-minute flight up the Hudson. He leaves behind the press, podiums, and critics, but Cuomo says his toughest opponent stays right by his side. And here's the latest Marist College poll, out this week. Cuomo continues to hold a substantial lead, with 60.8% compared to 11.3% for Rinfret. But the real news is Herb London, now in a dead heat for 2nd place, with 11% of registered voters. Almost 15% are still undecided. How do you feel about the candidates? Phone our audience access line at 1-800-766-NYTV. We'll let you know what New York thinks next week.